once the aircraft was loaded and ready to go, Flight 797 was pushed back from its gate at Dallas-Fort Worth. The pilots started the plane's 2 engines and began their taxi out to the active runway. In about 3 hours, they were expecting to arrive in Toronto. At 25 minutes past 4, Flight 797 lifted off and climbed out into the warm Texan summer sky. Thunderstorms were bubbling up from the vast plains below, and the pilots dodged these as they climbed. Eventually, they reached their cruising altitude of flight level 330, about 33,000 feet, far above the weather. It would be sunny skies all the way until they started their descent into Toronto. About an hour and 20 minutes after takeoff, as the plane soared above Louisville, Kentucky, the flight attendants were going through the cabin serving food and drinks. Up front, the atmosphere was relaxed, as First Officer Ouimet tucked into his meal of steak and some seafood, the former of which was a bit dry, he said. But as they chatted between themselves, the pilots were interrupted by a succession of clicking sounds. They looked at the circuit breaker panel behind the captain, trying to locate a potential source. The captain saw that 3 circuit breakers had popped, and that these were related to the flushing of one of the plane's toilets. The purpose of circuit breakers is to cut the electrical supply to a piece of equipment to prevent it from getting too hot and potentially catching fire. The pilots didn't know why the breakers had popped, and the captain decided, functioning toilets being an important part of the passenger experience after all, that it would be worth trying to restore the flushing function. He pressed in the 3 circuit breakers, one after the other. But so assuredly had they popped, that they didn't even click into place when he pushed them back in. They simply moved in and out with his finger. The captain likened the sound of the popping to a machine gun. Captain Cameron took out the plane's tech log and began adding yet another problem to the plane's growing litany. The pilots concluded that one of the passengers must have pushed a rag down the toilet, jamming it, and causing the flushing motor to overheat, triggering the circuit breakers to trip as a protective measure. This was a reasonable guess as to what had happened, and both pilots had experienced similar issues before. But about 90 feet behind the pilots, on the other side of the panelling in the aft left bathroom, trouble was brewing. The electrical problems